What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be reviewing an ESPN 7-round mock draft dropped by Jordan Reed a couple days ago. So if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that fun YouTube jazz. Links are also down in the description. This is going to be a pain to be able to review 259 picks, but I'm all here for it. Jordan put in the time to make the picks. I at least can give you guys some thoughts on it because it's also ESPN Plus, and I don't see anybody else who's done this yet. So at least I can provide you guys a little bit of insight to this. Obviously, Jordan Reed was formerly with the Draft Network, so it's going to be exciting to see what he does here with ESPN. We've been used to Jordan Reed's content. Now let's get right into this. So starting off with the first overall pick, CJ Stroud. For time's sake, makes sense. It's, Frank Reich's never played with never coached a starting quarterback under 6'2". So they're probably going to opt for the guy who has a little bit more of a familiar frame. Texans then going Bryce Young is obvious. That's what you do. They're going to be the top two picks. Number 3, again, there's not really going to be trade downs in this. Will Anderson Jr. to the Cardinals. I think that's perfectly fine if they're staying there at 3. I think that's a great move. Even if they run a 4-3, I think Will Anderson can still hold up at about 250 pounds. Then at number 4, the Colts going AR. Again, no complaints about it. Very similar to Jalen Hurts in my opinion, except with more upside. Obviously, there's more risk, and Jalen Hurts was not necessarily supposed to turn out as good as he was. But coming into the league, not a refined passer, really good runner, solid frame, and great work ethic. To me, those are the tools for success. I love the last part, great work ethic, because I think that's the difference maker between guys who maybe they might start out lower, but they end their career much higher. Because sometimes it's not a 1 or 2 year game. Sometimes these quarterbacks take a couple years to develop, and then they become superstars. And, it's the long game that you have to play if you have that job security. That's the real question. Does Ballard have job security? Seahawks then going Jalen Carter. As long as they're comfortable taking on the immaturity, I think this is an incredible move. I don't take him to the Seahawks or the Lions because it doesn't seem like they want to handle that type of personality. That's the only reason why I don't do it. So Jalen Carter obviously has the best on-field talent in the class. There's just, of course, those questions. Next, we got the Detroit Lions going Tyree Wilson. Again, there's not really going to be trades in this one, but I think Tyree is a solid player. I'm wondering what Josh Pascal's role is going to be since they both are about 275, kind of more guys who could be tweeners. But I love Tyree Wilson to death. I really do think that him in a system where he doesn't have to be the head honcho is going to be incredible. Great run stopping ability. He already has that production as a pass rusher. Again, I would probably try to lean maybe towards a corner here because Emmanuel Mosley's on a 1-year contract. Jeff Okudah is coming up for a contract because I love me some Joey Porter Jr. But again, you're just nitpicking at that point because Tyree Wilson's still an incredible player. And Tyree, I think, can stay on the outside or kick inside. Raiders in going Will Levis. Jimmy G got a really cheap deal, so it does kind of make sense if they do want to go a QB route. Because you're not picking in the top 5, you're picking at 7. But for me, I see corners that are available, and I don't think this team's going to be ready in a year. I'd rather kind of tank or, just do okay with Jimmy G and then build the roster and then, get rid of Jimmy G and get a new QB. That would be my way about going about it. But again, it's not a bad pick. I just would prefer a couple other dudes like Devon Witherspoon or Joey Porter Jr. Then you got CG to the Falcons. I think that's a great pick. Having Christian Gonzalez learn right next to AJ Terrell, pretty awesome. And then, of course, Casey Hayward's going to be an amazing mentor as well. Bears then going Broderick Jones. I don't think it's impossible. He can also kick into guard at 6'4". I think that's perfectly fine. I would prefer to move back and get him, but we all know that that's not always guaranteed. The Eagles then going Nolan Smith at 10. I love going Nolan Smith to the Eagles. I sometimes take the risk of letting him fall. And if the Eagles don't feel comfortable with that, it's logical that they would take him at 10 because you're getting someone who has chemistry with your star players, your future stars, as well as he's an incredible athlete. So I love that for him. Pick number 11, the Titans going Peter Skoronski. I really like that pick as well. You just need to find a place for him, and I think he can start over every single position on the offensive line. and that is a really valuable pick here at 11. Of course, they did make an offer for the number 1 overall pick, so do not be surprised if you see them moving up for a QB, like I just did in my most recent mock draft. So check that out because it also has a 2024 mock that I just dropped that's connected to it. But I think this is a very wise move. Very wise move. Texans then going Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. Unfortunately, they did not end up grabbing CJ Stroud. Otherwise, that would have been a really cool addition to the team to have Ohio State to Ohio State. But JSN, he's going to be an excellent, reliable option in the slot. Could kick out to the boundary as well. But, I think he's a perfectly solid option here. I don't mind it. Even though I'm not as high on him, I do not mind the pick myself. Pick number 13 for the Jets going Paris Johnson. We will be picking it up soon, but Paris Johnson, 36-inch arms, incredible, great athlete. He's moved up my board as well with a re-evaluation. And again, that's my motto. Like, I don't really say the scouting's done until the final tape is watched. And, I think Paris Johnson's very solid. He moved up 1 tackle spot, and that's very solid to me. I really do like what Paris Johnson could bring to the table. He needs to get a better anchor, though, and be a little bit more consistent. Patriots then going Devon Witherspoon. It's intriguing, but I do think that the Patriots can maximize a smaller corner in terms of weight. But, Devon has one hell of a work ethic, and the Patriots could certainly be a good landing spot for him. Green Bay Packers then going Myles Murphy. I love it to death. Myles is a top player on my board, as y'all could see. But, it's also fitting of where they're looking to go. Maybe not as athletic as you would hope for, but I do think that he's athletic enough. Then Commanders going JPJ. That's a dream pick. I think he's going to be a stud there. Steelers then going Darnell Wright, pick that I make all the time. Detroit Lions then going Deonte Banks. I'm a fan of it. Again, I wanted to go corner earlier. I would have rather went a corner like JPJ or Christian Gonzalez earlier and then went after Bijan here. But, I know that a lot of people really love their David Montgomery, but I don't think David Montgomery has remotely close to the ceiling that Bijan does. But I do love me some Deonte Banks, and I think he would fit very well in this system. Buccaneers then going Anton Harrison. I love it because you can actually put him at right tackle in case Tristan Wirfs gets hurt. He did play a game there this year, and he's super duper young. So, big fan of that. Anton, obviously number 16 on my board. Lucas Van Ness to the Seahawks. That's a pick that I'm very, very big fan of. So, I would love to see that for him. Lucas Van Ness is a raw edge rusher with a lot of upside. Kind of reminds me a lot of what we saw last year from that Minnesota edge rusher that I'm tripping balls on trying to remember his name. But it definitely does make sense to go after a pass rusher for him. Pick number 21, the Chargers going Bijan. It makes sense with Eckler requesting a trade. So, I'm a big fan of that one. Ravens and going Quentin. Yeah. We'll see what happens with Lamar. Requested a trade. A lot of people request trades and don't always get them. So, we'll see what happens there. Vikings then going Jordan Addison is a great move. Him pairing up with JJ is going to be great. Jacksonville Jaguars going Osiris Torrance. I can see it. I'd prefer for them to go after a tackle, and off the top of my head, I don't really think that any of the top tackles are on the board, but getting someone like DeJuan Jones here would be great because also if you are trying to compete in the AFC playoffs, probably the teams that are going to draft that right tackle are those teams that are gearing up for the AFC playoffs. So DeJuan Jones, to me, replacing Jawan Taylor's role would be the best move. Zay Flowers to the Giants. There we go. I was about to say Jay Flowers because I saw that G, but it is what it is. Let's move on. Zay Flowers, solid option. I'm not going to complain about it. I do that pick myself. Dallas Cowboys going Kalijah Cansey. I'd prefer going after DeJuan Jones here and then maybe a boundary corner to develop, but you really can't complain about going a high upside defensive interior player because the one thing the Dallas Cowboys don't have on defense is a marquee interior defensive lineman. Buffalo Bills then going Drew Sanders. I love it. He would play Tremaine Edmonds' role, in my opinion, fairly well. I think Jack Campbell fits a little bit more because he is that 6'5", 250 frame who's really smart in zone coverage. But, Drew Sanders is excellent. He is my linebacker 1. I have him at number 23 on my board. Bengals then going DeJuan Jones. A reason why I said that, the Jaguars should have went after him. You're kind of disarming your opponents, so to speak. But Orlando Brown Jr., DeJuan Jones for the future would be pretty damn nice. Same thing going Michael Mayer. Makes sense. Derek Carr's been used to having a reliable tight end for a hot minute, and I think that Michael Mayer could be in that mold for sure. Philadelphia Eagles ain't going Brian Breezy. I think it's fine. I think that's a very solid high upside pick. A lot of people might not like that too much, but I am not against it. I think the Saints should have probably gotten him, but I'm just going to address the pick themselves rather than maybe exactly what they should have gotten at this point. Chiefs going Adebawore is perfect. You can kick him to the inside or use him on the outside. Frank Clark is sub 265, so you could see them going after a lighter prospect if they would so please. Steelers then going Brian Branch. I would love that as a Steelers fan. I wish Jordan Addison were here, but you can't always get exactly what you want. Brian Branch would be an excellent addition to the team. Texans then going Will McDonald. Don't mind it. I prefer getting a larger player, so to speak, for D'Amico Ryans to kind of mold into his Nick Bosa. But, based on the guys on the board, Will McDonald is among the most talented. Then you got Cardinals going Cam Smith. I vibe with it. They need a corner. Colts, Keely Ringo, another spot where they could definitely use a corner, and he could potentially move to safety, but I think that they can make a role for him for sure. Onudike Uzomah to the Rams makes sense. They were looking for an edge rusher during the year, and pass rushers are getting extremely expensive, so you're getting a very good return on your investment. Seahawks then going John Michael Schmitz. I'm a fan of that pick as well. Going into your offensive line, never a bad idea. Raiders going Kincaid is literally a perfect replacement for Darren Waller, so I don't think that's a bad pick at all. Excellent value, and since he is coming off that is it a back injury? Season-ending injury where I don't think he could play during one of his pro days. I think it's going to be perfectly fine. So good to see that. Josh Downs for the Panthers. I do love that a lot. He's a super smooth athlete, and I think he's just an upgraded version of Calvin Austin last year. And, upgraded and younger, that's a very good sign because I was a big fan of Calvin Austin there. Mozzie Smith for the Saints. I said they needed to go interior defensive lineman. They definitely went that way. So good for them. Titans then going Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. Big fan of that pick for them. Getting a good deep threat, staying in Tennessee as well. It's going to be nice to get a homegrown talent to assist there with Treylon Burks kicking ass. New York Jets then going Joe Tippmann. So assumes that that there's not a quarterback trade because I assume one of these would be traded for Aaron Rodgers. Joe Tippmann, solid high upside interior offensive lineman. Somebody who I started watching him versus Michigan State, and he is absolutely bullied. I still have him in my top 70, but he does have those flashes of a top tier offensive lineman. It's just those interior defensive linemen for Michigan State just for some reason had his number. They continued kicking his ass, but other games he did look fairly solid. Antonio Johnson for the Jets as well. 8 bench press reps definitely scares the shit out of me, but they probably won't have this pick anyway. BJ Ojolari for the Falcons is incredible value. Christian Gonzalez and BJ Ojolari would be a killer 1-2 for the Falcons. Packers and going Darnell, it makes sense. You're getting a reliable option for a young quarterback, and you guys are used to having Mercedes Lewis, so you can already have a good role for him. Bergeron to the Patriots, a pick that I make myself, but I'm not really a big fan of him at all. Commanders going Blake Freeland. I could totally see it happening maybe in the next round because he didn't have a very good Senior Bowl, but I'm not going to shame a team for going offensive tackle. Detroit Lions going Keanu Benton. I do that myself. I prefer for them to go a linebacker here, but again, you're pretty much nitpicking because I do that myself. Steelers going Trent Simpson would be an absolute dream. I don't really think Holcomb and Roberts are going to be the best guys on the board, or best guys to lead our defense when we had 2 better but not great linebackers last year. Buccaneers going Derek Hall. I could totally see that happening. Freakish arm length at about 35 inches, and he definitely has a lot of experience under his belt, so it would be a good addition to the team. Dolphins going Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't really think any offensive linemen are available, but I'd rather go Sam Laporta here. But Jahmyr Gibbs would be incredible to add to that. There's already a role for him in this offense, so you're getting a younger, cheaper option to add to it. Then you got Jack Campbell for the Seahawks. Incredible to add him to Bobby Wagner as well as Jordan Brooks. So good right there. That'd be a nasty linebacker group. Foskey for the Bears. I thought of that. It was a good pick, and it kind of felt like a lock for a hot minute. Him or going to the Bears or the Patriots. high upside player that kind of lost a lot of steam, but I used to be his #1 hater. Now I feel like I'm supporting him way more than what I used to. But the Rams then going Luke Musgrave, it makes sense. You got Bijan Robinson, which is the ultimate pick, but you look at Kellen Moore, he's been a huge tight end guy, totally makes sense. Lions then going Hendon Hooker. I've heard a lot of rumors about this being a thing. I personally would kind of lean away from it, but the linebackers are taken, so you could just end up going after Hendon Hooker because he did have some really good play there. And grading wise, he does get close to the other QBs at the top, unlike many other players. Jaguars ain't going Clark Phillips. They do need somebody in the slot. I'd prefer a boundary corner, but Clark Phillips is incredible. I'd probably go Emmanuel Forbes myself because you could probably get a high upside player by moving him to the boundary. But Emmanuel Forbes to the Giants is just a luxury pick. I love him. He was supposed to be my corner too if he weighed more. But, until I see that, he weighed 170 at his pro day, which is great. But until I see him being 175, I just cannot put him back where I really want to. Cowboys going Steve Avila. I love it. Obviously, right down the street. Steve Avila went and played versus my SMU, so I got to see him in person. Never really stood out to me, but, he's getting actually re-evaled today, so very excited for that. Bills going Keon White. I don't think that's a bad idea at all because it does fit the AJ Epinesa and Boogie Basham mold, but I think that you honestly could probably go offensive line or, get some extra defensive back help. I'd prefer to go offensive line myself. So pick number 60, the Bengals going Sam Laporta is incredible value. They're acing the draft right now. Bears Julius Brents is incredible value as well. Even though he's a little bit slow, he's somebody who tested out very, very well. Eagles going Marvin Mims this early. I can't see that. He just never really popped off to me as a top wide receiver there at Oklahoma, but I know a lot of people love him. He'd be a very nice addition to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a replacement for Quez, but I wouldn't take him here. I'd probably look for the next round. I would go Tank Dell at this point over Marvin Mims, and I understand the idea of getting the third wide receiver. I just don't think that it was executed properly. Gervin Dexter going this high would be a very big surprise, especially since you potentially have another interior defensive lineman. But, Gervin has a ton of upside. If you want to have Adebawore going on the outside, then Gervin Dexter would not be a bad addition at all. Zach Pickens, I can't fully support this one this early, but we are starting to get into round 3, so it's where you can reach on guys you really do like. And Bears do need interior defensive line help. Texas going Whippler. I love it to death. He's a top, is he a top 32 player for me? He's up there. He's up there for sure. But I have no idea. Oh, he's number 36. So, top 40 player for me. I really do like him. Cardinals going Siaki Ika. Because I'm biased against Siaki Ika, I'm not going to address that pick. Broncos going to Zach Harrison. Definitely a great guy to be able to compete where, I think he's going to compete with Jonathan Cooper, who's a former Ohio State player as well. But high upside. I've seen him try to chase down the other running back, I think Donovan. Is it Donovan Edwards? Edwards for Michigan. And he was actually keeping with him stride for stride on that touchdown run. So keep an eye out for that. He's a very good athlete at a very large size. Ton of untapped potential there. Tyreek Stevenson is perfect for the Broncos. I literally think he's similar to Patrick Surtain, just a bit more raw. So very exciting to see him take under the wing of him. DJ Turner for the Rams. I'm a big fan of DJ Turner. Where do I have DJ Turner on my board? I'm tripping on that one because I really do like him a lot. He's probably in my top 64 or top 80 at least. Oh, he's 67. So, yeah, I think it's an excellent pick. I think he can play on the boundary as well. Raiders and going Jacqueline Roy. That's fine. I think it's a little bit rich for him, but interior defensive lineman help is always warranted. Cody Mauch for the Saints, not a bad pick remotely. Can also kick the tackle. Titans and going Tucker Kraft. I think that's fine. Going to tight end is never a bad thing behind Chig because I think they both can compete and have a very nice 1-2 punch. Next, we have the Texans going Dian Henley. So I don't think this is bad at all. Great value for Dian, and at least he's not going super high. Keandre Coburn for the Browns. It's a dude who can just eat up the interior at that 300, or I think he dropped to like 332, but he's still huge, a monster of a guy. And definitely, I like seeing some representation of some of my favorite players in here. Tyler Scott pairing back up with his former QB. Pretty sure he played with Spencer Rattler. No, why did I say Spencer Rattler? Jesus, Desmond Ridder last year. But even if not, you're having a very nice deep threat, but I'm pretty damn sure he did. So you're having that chemistry as well. Patriots then going Cedric Tillman totally feels like it feels like a Patriots pick, but I think it would be a little bit overkill with having Juju there and Cedric. I think they play a similar role. Rashee Rice to the Rams. I think that would have been well, to be fair, I know Raw doesn't like being in the cold, but Raw to the Rams would be awesome. Actually, they know how to use wide receivers that are not necessarily the most like maneuverable. And even though he tested well, you see it on tape, he's not super wiggly at all. So this is great for him. Packers and going Jayden Reed. Oh, I like that. Yeah, in getting a deep threat, I think he's a little bit too small to be in the consideration for Green Bay, but I think that he runs a lot better than 4.4 or 5, and he's a damn good player. Tyler Steen for the Colts is a bit rich for me, but I'm never going to fault a team for going O-line. Darius Rush to the Steelers feels like a Steelers pick, even though I don't like Darius Rush that much. But obviously, 6'2", 4.36. Can't really complain about that on day 3. Lions and going Braden Daniels. I haven't studied him enough to give you an honest opinion, but he's going to be competing there and growing under Graham Glasgow. And again, never going to fault a team for O-line. Jatavius Martin for the Buccaneers. I think it's a little bit early for him, but being able to have some safety depth there, not too shabby. Seahawks then going and staying on the West Coast with Kyu Blu Kelly. Don't mind it at all. Dolphins going Luke Schoonmaker. I've never thought he was that incredible, but I definitely need to rewatch him. Thule is going to the Chargers. Love seeing him stay in LA and being able to learn from Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. If Khalil Mack is still there, I would just say I was hoping for him to be 290. That's all I was saying. Rajon Wright, I'm not a fan of him. He looked pretty ass at the Senior Bowl, so I'm just going to pass on that one. But I do like the cornerback move to the Ravens. Vikings going Owen Papo, tested out incredibly well. They need a linebacker. He deserves a re-eval as well. Jacksonville Jaguars going Tank Bigsby. I could see that. He's a nice power back that's a compliment to ETN. Going to be probably fitting into that James Robinson role. Not too shabby of a pick. I've never thought about that, actually. Giants going to Lusaguna Luatimi. I love that. That's like a 10 out of 10 pick for me. You guys know me. I'm a big fan of the Goon. And having him here at 89 to fill in that center role is incredible. And he's super mobile. Cowboys going Zach Charbonnet. That's where my buddy Zach wanted to go back in high school. It's going to be probably where he ends up. I love that to death. If he makes it to 90, I'll be surprised. But I could totally see them doing this with their second round picks. So, I love it. I really do. He's going to be in that Zeke Elliott role, and I do think he can fit it extremely well, and he'll have a lot of success there. Buffalo Bills, Byron Young. He's solid. He's solid. I'm not going to fault a team for just trying to add in more depth on the defensive line. Then the Bengals going Isaiah McGuire. Y'all know what's up. He was my number 2 player for a long time before he had a very atrocious offseason. But, he definitely showed out in the game. So the game tape shows that he's a top 5 player in the class. And he went up against guys like Broderick Jones and, kicked ass. So I hope that he gets back to that form. But I don't have the faith in him that I did based on how he performed in the offseason. Panthers and going Andre Carter. I love it. Excellent value. Somebody who was arguably a first-round lock for the majority of the season until he tested out poorly, looked kind of out of his water there at the Senior Bowl. Eagles going Jair Brown. He's kind of a Terrell Edmonds clone, so we'll see what happens there. But it's, very solid value on a longer-term contract. Terrell Edmonds is on 1-year contract too, so I don't think that you have to necessarily say this is a waste of a pick. I like it. Chiefs going A.T. Perry. I'm a big fan of that one. Pretty sure that I'm forgetting Justin Ross. He was brought in a couple years ago. Might have been last year in UDFA. I think A.T. Perry is kind of going to be the healthier upgrade version of that. So I do love it a lot. Jalen Duncan to the Cardinals. I absolutely detest Jalen Duncan, but I still have him top 150. He's just not good, but you can tell that he could be. It's just he's a redshirt senior. It's like, how long do you have to wait for him to be good? At pick 96 on a team that's going to be needing some time to develop, not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Commanders going Tyjae Spears. That's solid value. I like that a lot, actually. Then Cleveland Browns going Trey Palmer. Excellent value as well. Adding him there with Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper would actually make a really formidable front or formidable receiving core. Niners going Jalen Jones. I have him as a top 32 player. Big fan of that. Raiders then going Byron Young, the edge out of Tennessee. A little bit light, but incredible athlete. And honestly, at 100, it is BPA. Then Niners going Nick Salvaderi. I didn't know that Jordan Reed was this high on him too. But it also makes sense for the Niners to reach on a player that a lot of people don't like. But I really do like him, which means that Nick Salvaderi is probably not going to be selected by him because it's funny. Even though my buddy's their scouting director, I still, like, we talk about players, and he always goes for the guys I do not like. It's kind of a funny thing. But Devon Achane. So, yeah, this is kind of a dream draft right here. Devon Achane for the Niners fits a perfect role that they've had success with before. Bears going Ricky Stromberg. He's a solid player. I don't blame him at 103. Excuse me. Texans going Jacorian Bennett. Solid player. It's the fourth round. Dylan Horton's a little bit early for me, but Cardinals do need edge help. McClendon Curtis, I think, again, a little bit early, but again, it's late. Patriots going Mike Morris. Makes perfect sense. He got hurt, but I do think that he is going to come back, and he had some really good momentum there. Bill's going to snatch up on his little downfall for the short term and get a good guy in the long. Broncos going John Gaines out of UCLA. I don't know who John Gaines is, I'll be completely frank, and I know that there's another interior offense lineman from UCLA that's quite a solid player, but another guy to add to the watch list. Vegas Raiders going Eli Ricks here. It sucks to see him fall, but some people might be worried about his on-field availability. This could be a reasonable range for him to realistically go, but I think he should be a second-round pick. Falcons going Anthony Bradford out of LSU. Another guy who I haven't studied very much. It's not a very good interior offensive line class, so I could see some reaches like this happening. Browns going to Marvion Overshown. Excellent value. He should be going earlier than this. Jets going Moro Ajomo. That's another high upside interior defensive lineman, but I have him a bit further down on my board. Michael Wilson for the Falcons. I really do like that. You're getting X-build wide receiver to put on the outside there, and even though you're kind of lacking some speed out there, you have Drake London and him. It's kind of hard to cover two twin towers, so to speak. And, well, even though Michael Wilson's not that tall, he still plays much larger than, his size suggests. And I feel like he could be a 230-pound wide receiver by his play style. Panthers going Henry Teotiao. I do not like him at all, but, you are investing in a position that you are going to need in a year. And Henry has shown flashes. Tank Dell to the Saints is ridiculous to see him fall this far. But, at the end of the day, good players sometimes fall in the draft. And this is not out of the realm of possibility. He's a very, very good player, and I'd love to see him on the Saints. Packers going Jordan Battle. Consistent safety. Totally makes sense. Patriots going Sidney Brown, who I have as a top 32 player at the moment. Obviously, I'm going to love that. Zach Kuntz, I'm going to love that. So I'm actually studying Sidney Brown, Zach Kuntz, and Steve Avila over again today. That's kind of like my new goal for the day. Vikings going DTR. It's a little bit early for him, but it is a very thin QB class. Steelers going Caleb Murphy. I have not studied him, I'll be frank. Incoom. I saw this guy. He has some flashes, man. Not too shabby at all. And it's a nice representation of Central Michigan, smaller school, going this high. Kansas City Chiefs going Roshan. He's a really good worker, and he's someone who's not afraid of being a rotational back. So I think he'd be an excellent complement there to Isaiah Pacheco. Seahawks then going Parker Washington. This is an excellent value pick. So if you guys don't want to go JSN early or can't, this is a great way of getting a potential slot option. Ravens then going Kenny McIntosh. He ran 4.6, which makes absolutely no sense based on his play speed. I don't know what the hell happened, but we'll see what happens with him. Chargers going Terrell Smith. I'm going to be honest, I haven't even heard of Terrell Smith, so another guy to add to the watch list. Browns then going Kendre Miller. I love Kendre Miller. Obviously saw him absolutely eat my SMU Mustangs alive, and he's a very good player. Very good player. I have him in my top, where do I have him? I have him at 78 on my board. So Jaguars then going Yaya. Incredible value here. Yaya, if he learns how to continue running forward, is going to be a stud. I love seeing the Giants continue to invest in the offensive line. They did it last year as well in the third round, so I'm glad to see Chandler Zavala go here. Cowboys then going Brenton Strange. Ooh, interesting. I haven't studied this guy, but I obviously have watched a lot of Penn State, and I love their tight ends. I love Theo Johnson. That's my guy. But Brenton Strange is not too shabby based on the guy tape I've seen too. Bills then going Jonathan Mingo is incredible value, and He has that A.J. Brown build to him. I would love to see that there. Riley Moss to the Bengals, another stud pick. Butte to the Panthers. They're willing to take on that personality. Then they're getting a very, very good player on the field. Bears going Carl Brooks is incredible. Wanya Morris to the Kansas City Chiefs. I like that a lot. You're getting a right tackle there too. And then the Patriots going Noah Sewell. So, this is actually a really cool little article or a little paragraph here. The favorite prospect team fit. I'm intrigued because obviously DTR is of a similar mold to Kellen Mond, but it's intriguing. I think he's better than Kellen Mond. I didn't like Kellen Mond that much, but I like DTR a little bit more, but I still don't like DTR. Still, you gotta stay hydrated, kids. Make sure to drink your water for the day. But continuing on, Bears going Xavier Hutchinson's perfect, getting a reliable receiver there. They don't really have that reliable, sure hands, larger wide receiver. So he actually does fit a role that they are in need of. And at 136, that's incredible value. Bills going Christopher Smith, excellent value as well. Colts going KJ Henry. Besides the arm length, he's a super consistent player and definitely good value there at 138. Broncos going Zach Evans. He got outshined by Junkins there, but incredible player. And somebody who I have a lot of respect for, and I have actually much higher on my board. Where do I have him? Because I'm pretty sure I have, 89. So, there you go. Jamie Robinson's going way too late, but, the Browns are the ones who are scooping up a stud safety to add in there with the guy they stole from Kansas City. I'm forgetting his name. Former UVA safety, I believe. But, that safety room's going to be totally loaded. Love that for him. Vegas going to go Antonio Mafi, the guy who I was talking about earlier. Excellent pick. Nick Herbig to the Browns. You're just kind of playing with BPA here, and Nick Herbig does have incredible athleticism for his size. I love Ivan Pace Jr. I think I have him as a top 60 player. And where do I have him exactly? I have him at 51, so pretty much a top 50 player. He just has so much power and so much command of the field for his size. And, it's about the motion of the ocean, man. I'm telling you, this guy knows how to use his frame, and he's able to deck guys, even like guards. I think he's going to be one of those sneaky guys that pops off in the NFL. JL Skinner tore, I think, his pectoral, and that's why he's falling, but incredible value for him. Panthers and going Garrett Williams. Y'all know my love for Garrett. He was a top 15 player for me before his ACL tear. Saints going Eric Gray. I think that's excellent redundancy for you to have in that backfield with, I think he's like a less athletic version of Alvin Kamara. Titans going Nick Broker. It's offensive line, so not going to fault it. Rashad Torrance to the Bears. I haven't studied Rashad to give you enough of a feedback on that, but I would personally like to go Trey Dean as the safety from Florida. Akeem Richards has some upside there for the Green Bay Packers, and I would love to see them bring him into that rotation and have him sit under Elton Jenkins. Commanders going Cam Jones. I love Cam Jones too. I'm a big fan of some of these depth guys who keep falling. Cam Jones was a guy who popped off to me in week 1, and he's going to be certainly a good asset to his team. Tanner McKee to the Seahawks. Intriguing. I like that, actually. So you're getting 2 players from Stanford with Kyu Blue Kelly and Tanner McKee. Lions going Dorian Williams, getting a solid linebacker there. Undersized, but solid nonetheless. Cam Young, I do like him. So I think he's another guy who's going to pop off. There's Eric Johnson was a dude from the Senior Bowl that I fell in love with. He's still on the Colts, and he came from pretty much nowhere. I think Cam Young could be a very similar story. Colby Wooden, excellent value there for the Seahawks. Could totally see it happening too. Niners going Daniel Scott, solid safety from Cal, but haven't studied him in all 22, so I won't give you a full eval on him. Chargers going Ronnie Bell. I think he'll go later, but going wide receiver for the Chargers is never a bad thing. Ravens going Ollie Gay. A little bit early for him, but again, the Ravens don't need very much in my opinion. Vikings going Jalen Redmond, incredible athlete. Don't know if he's exactly the best player at the interior defensive line position, but the athleticism can't really be taught. Falcons going Carter Warren. He's a consistent tackle out of Pittsburgh. Nothing special. Giants going Chase Brown. I love that. Having him behind Saquon would be incredible. Texans going Cam Latu. Getting tight end help, never a bad thing for him, and Cam Latu's great. Indianapolis Colts going Dontavian Wicks. He just tested too poorly to go this early, but I think that wide receiver for them is a good move, especially for a big guy. to have in there that rotation with Michael. How the fuck did I forget Michael's name? Michael Pittman Jr. So Cincinnati Bengals then going Sean Tucker, excellent pick, especially since there are some questions over Joe Mixon's future. San Francisco 49ers then going DJ Johnson. Actually, one of the edge rushers from Oregon I did not study, so don't know enough about him to give an honest opinion. Tavius Robinson, I've heard some great things about him, so I definitely think he could be a sneaky pick there from Ole Miss. He has popped off in the games that I have watched from Ole Miss. Kansas City Chiefs going DeMarco Hallams. I'm going to be straight up. I did not know this man existed, so I'll take that on the chin. Rams going Israel Abanikanda. A good depth running back. I do like that a lot. He can potentially start. The Rams certainly do have a knack of being able to get really good value at the running back position. Cardinals then going Jarrett Patterson. Can't complain about offensive line. I love this. Jared Clark. He's a big dude, so he's not going to compete there with Kalijah. I love Jared Clark. He's going to be one of those dudes as well, similar to Eric Johnson was for me, and the same thing as the Mississippi State cat this year. I think that Jared Clark could be a legitimate roster talent, and at 169, that's great. Anthony Johnson, he had a lot of momentum for him. He didn't necessarily have the offseason he was looking for. Jake Haener is excellent for the Rams. You've been kind of seeing Colt McCoy be what Jake Haener will be in the NFL for a long time there, and the Cardinals. So I think Jake Haener is going to be an excellent locker room presence and can step in and perform pretty damn well. Giants going Yasir Abdullah. He's a pressure machine. So I do like that value for him. Again, you're taking shots on dudes who have some great value. Niners are killing it this draft. I love the picks that they're making. Payne Durham, not necessarily the most athletic dude in the world, but his game tape is fairly solid, and I do like him a lot. Raiders going Jordan McFadden. He's an experienced tackle out of Clemson. Not going to complain about that. Buccaneers going Trey Tucker. Solid player as well. He's not probably going to start, but good depth piece. I love this pick. Starling Thomas. I don't know if he actually tested at the combine, but some people were saying he's running in the 4.2s. But, upside is there. And you obviously already have some good corner play there, and you've had proven corner play. I think Starling Thomas could be developed into one of those proven corners. Nick Hampton, solid edge rusher from Appalachian State. I'm gonna just be honest. I'm hyping up this idea here. If I ever do a 7-rounder, I might do something like this where I talk about my favorite prospect team fit. But yes, Zach Evans is so good. I love it. I love him there with Javonte. Round 6, Jay Ward. He's okay. You're getting him for pure depth at this point. And, he's, I believe, a former 5-star or 4-star. So you're getting the upside there. I love Aiden O'Connell. I have a much higher probably than most people. I'll scroll down my big board a little bit for you. Aiden O'Connell, he's super underrated. Puka Nacua, I love him as well. Underrated. Jake Moody from Michigan. Solid kicker. You got to toss him in here. Anthony Johnson Sr. to the Rams. I haven't studied him enough, but I haven't seen him be a liability. I like that Iowa State secondary for sure. Davis Allen to the Lions. This is a great spot to go after another tight end. I really do like Mitchell for your team, but Davis Allen would provide some good competition there with him and Zylstra. Patriots then going Matt Landers. He tested very well, so I do like that. Jaguars going Bryce Ford Wheaton. Another great pick. So I'm really liking this so far from Jordan. We still have almost 100 picks to go. Titans then going Alex Austin. I didn't like any of the Oregon State corners this year. Juice Scruggs. I thought it was Juice Spriggs for some reason. But Penn State center. It's a depth piece, so that's fine. THT should not be going this late, but that's incredible value. Jackson Kirkland to the Rams is great as well. He was supposed to be a first-round tackle last year and then just totally fell off a cliff. Jerome Calvin. I don't mind the interior offensive lineman from Tennessee, especially at this point. Charlie Jones. I feel like the Rams would be the type to take someone like, I love Ben Skoranek. I like Charlie Jones. It feels like a team that would take someone who's more of a no-name. Pages going Jaron Hall is intriguing. Doesn't really fit what they're usually with, but, I'm all for it. Commanders going Warren McClendon. I actually really like that. It's very good value for Warren McClendon. I don't know where I put him on my board, but, I think that's actually really good value. And Zach Kuntz needs to make a big rise up my board for sure. But, very solid. Jadon Hazelwood for the Lions. It's a nice depth, large wide receiver. Broncos going Ryan Hayes. He's another consistent veteran. Dwayne McBride for the Buccaneers at this point is at steal. Love that. Alex Forsyth, I think, had a sub 20-inch vert. He's just unathletic as fuck, and that kind of is sad because I really want to stick my neck out for him. Statistically, does not let up pressures, so that's very nice to see. Seahawks going Kalon LeBourne. I'm gonna be honest, I love Marshall running backs. Like, I love them. Keon Adams back in the day was like one of the loves of my life. Have not heard of Kalon LeBourne. Just gonna be straight up, have not. Richard Gurage, I know he's a tackle for Florida. I think he's a left tackle. He's okay. And again, you're kind of getting okay players with upside here at 199. And the Ravens don't need jack shit, so kind of makes sense. Chargers and going BJ Thompson. From SFA, it's okay. I think it's a little redundant. I don't think Andrew Voorhees should have fallen here remotely, but Texans get another steal. I'm pretty sure Jordan Reed's not a Texans fan, but so far he's been giving him a killer draft. Aubrey Miller Jr. I love Jackson State linebackers. Might be because of the James Houston effect, but I think it's solid value. My man Deuce, I swear to God, Texans are having my draft. Voorhees, Deuce Vaughn, like these are my dudes. So excellent value. Obviously, he's my number 2 running back in the class. Raiders then going the Corey Trice route. Haven't really seen much from these Purdue corners, but you know, corner helps, corner help. John Ojukwu. Interesting. John, let's try this together. Ojukwu. I haven't studied him, so I'm not going to comment on that. But O-line's O-line, so I'm never going to fault a team for going O-line, maybe a bit early. Dante Stills, he has upside. I obviously liked his brother Darius Stills. New York Jets then going Javon Gwynn. Man, these guys are just coming out of nowhere. Here's a guy I know, Emil Ekiyor. So I like that for the Jaguars. I think that if you went tackle in the first round, Emil could be actually competing for some snaps here. So, you know, I think that you could have done a little bit better, but, you know, so far there's nothing heinous here. Giants going PJ Mustipher. That's another solid player that I saw a couple years ago pop off. Hunter Lepke, he's a good player there for North Dakota State. Feels like a Patriots guy. Kentrell Clark, another pretty solid player. Clayton Tune feels like such a Cowboys player. Obviously, also seen him. Like, they're going all for the AAC here. So, glad to see that Clayton Tune is coming to D-Town. But I think he's okay. There's Trey Dean. There he is from Florida. He's very strong as a safety. So, I would love to see him potentially just lay the wood in the NFL and be that type of role. Raheem Jarrett should be going earlier, but perfect role for the Raiders to kind of get their Henry Ruggs back. Washington Commanders then going, yes, Silvera. He's somebody who's very solid. He popped off in the Senior Bowl as well. So very excited to see that. Niners then going Ventrell Miller. Had some very good games there. He's just kind of old. And then you got Shaq Davis, who's, I mean, a lot of people I think comped him. They said he's like Megatron or some shit. Did not test that way. Let's put it that way. So it looks like we both like the Aubrey Miller pick. Very excited for that. And let's end this off. Will Mallory to the Chiefs is a great value pick. Same thing with Mo Ibrahim, who I used to have as like a consistent 3rd round pick before all of his injuries and shit. Very good running back. Raiders going Chris Rodriguez. Solid depth running back, consistent. Servassier Dennis is one of my top depth linebackers in the class. Very high upside. Sidney So, I've seen him as well. Solid player. Mekhi Blackman, he's somebody who holds way too much, and I think that's why he's falling here, but he has some very high upside tape that could warrant him being taken as high as the 4th round. Tyler Lacey, this dude, I think he ran like a 5-something as an edge rusher, so not a fan of him. Keaton Mitchell, he's a fun player to watch. I think he'll go earlier. Josh Wiley's the love of my life, so yeah, I think he's the most underused player in college. I think he'll actually start in the NFL. So if that's the case, you kind of know exactly how I feel about that. Stetson Bennett as such a saint. I mean, he has such like a Derek Carr-ness to him. It might just be like just a standard white dude, but I mean, he feels like a Derek Carr. Titans then going Jose Ramirez. He tested very well. So good value here. I like Cam Mitchell. Brandon Joseph is a steal at this point, even though he tested horribly. He obviously was a top 5 player on my board to start out the 2022 draft. So it kind of sucks. Kobe Turner, solid value here. Justin Shorter, another one of the loves of my life. Didn't test the way I wanted to, but to me, a top 50 player or at least top 64 player in the class. He's just has been kind of riddled with injuries. He's been a little bit of a letdown on that front. Fehoko from San Jose State has had some momentum, but I haven't seen him myself. Same thing with Broderick Martin. But Corey Durden, solid player from NC State. I'm pretty sure he transferred there from Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. But, you do have some, and it's 235. Gavarius Owens, I've not seen him myself, but I love Houston DBs, so I'm going to support it. Isaiah Land's okay. MJ Anderson, I'm a big fan of. I think that he was heavily underutilized there at Iowa State, so I think this value is incredible. Joey Fisher, had not seen him, but I have heard of him because I've heard people talk about the Shepherd kid. Ronnie Hickman, great value at 240, not at 30, where some other schmuck took him a while ago. Jalen Moreno Cooper, a lot of people love this guy, or Cropper, excuse me. A lot of people love this guy. As a Steelers fan, I would love to see him on my team. Evan Hull is incredible value. I think I would take him in the 5th. He's somebody who continues to put up some impressive statistics. Marte Mapu, love this guy. So I'm getting excited for some of these 7th round players. I have not seen enough about Micah Baskerville, but if you're a 7th rounder from LSU, it's kind of worth taking, but also should probably be higher if you're a player from LSU. Punter, Mohamed Diabate, he's a solid player. Here in the 7th round, it's great value. I think it's a pentathlon athlete, Andreas Sovius. I think, I don't know how to say his name, Iosivas. That's actually how you say it. There you go. So I think that's great value as well. He's a crazy athlete, but at Princeton he didn't do. I think he's not necessarily NFL ready. Jeremy Banks of the Eagles, getting a linebacker from Tennessee, never an awful idea, but I prefer D. Winters, who goes here. Great value. Chamari Connor, again, good value. Kicker. Anthony Orji, he actually tested really well as well. He pops off on tape. I've been able to recognize his name a couple times. Lance Boykin, haven't studied him. Lonnie Phelps is great. Love him. He just has kind of T-Rex arms. Elijah Hickens is kind of a bum, but if you use him as a tight end, I think he'll be fine. Max Thuggin going to the Packers. I like that. You're getting your dude. DJ Dale is not bad at all as well. CJ Johnson, don't know enough about him, but last but not least, the Cox himself goes to the Texans. So the Texans killed this draft. That's going to be the video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. I think a couple teams really kicked ass in this, and then especially the Niners and the Texans. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side.